Listen to that sentence like a bell struck in the center of your chest, a sound that knows the shape of your name before you do. Right now, at this precise crossroad of attention, something in you recognized a frequency. You paused. You hovered. Something in the dark of your daily scrolling said, "Stop." That is the voice of destiny. That is the small, uncanny compass that drew you to this transmission. The title you clicked on says it plainly: Forbidden Hermetic Principle. How Wave Collapse Secrets Let You Rewrite Any Destiny Timeline. Let that title sit in your body like a key. You have been circling the same rooms of experience for a long time, the same conversations, the same losses, the same soft betrayals that feel like lessons but read like scripts. You have felt the film of your life loop, a familiar melody with one stubborn, painful note. That repetition is not punishment. It is the echo of a particular way your attention has learned to fold the world. In quantum language, they call it the observer effect. In Hermetic language, they call it the art of collapse. In your language, it has felt like fate. And yet, here is the strange mercy. Fate is only a habit of attention. The same gaze that has been replaying your patterns is the instrument that can change them. Imagine your awareness as a hand holding a brush over a canvas of infinite paint. Each time you attend with the same tremor, the brush draws the same line. But the brush can change. The brush can, in a single breath, lay down an entirely different stroke, and with that new stroke, an entire horizon shifts. That is the secret this moment brings you toward. Right now, your nervous system is listening for permission. You were led here because some part of you, the part that exists across timelines, is ready to try a different gesture. You are not naive if you feel suspicion. You are wise. You have been taught to believe that changing means trying harder. That is the old magic. Force, will, transaction. The new magic whispers, quality of attention, coherence. The way you hold your gaze rewrites the probabilities that matter most. Picture a single wave on a dark sea. When you become the observer, you do not only name the wave, you cause it to crest. That crest is a possibility becoming a reality. Now imagine, with care, that you can learn the forbidden Hermetic skill of choosing which waves you allow to take shape. Not by brute effort, but by shifting the subtle architecture of your attention. This is what the title promises, and what your deeper self has been aching to remember. There is a lineage here, a quiet line of practice that threads physics and mystery. Small experiments in attention become luminous portals. You will be guided, step by step, through how to witness the observer itself, how to loosen the loop, and how to use wave collapse as an ally rather than a jailer. For now, feel the gravity of this first recognition. Breathe into your chest, and notice without trying to change a thing how your body answers when destiny calls. If something in you says yes to this possibility, settle into that yes like a vow. This video is an initiation, and this first breath is your first agreement. In the silence between breaths, your future self already waits, patient and near. When you are ready, let me guide you deeper. You have already felt it, haven't you? That eerie sensation that life is less a forward march and more a circle disguised as progress. You wake up, different days but familiar moods, different faces, yet conversations that echo ones you thought you had already lived. Jobs change, partners shift, circumstances rearrange, but at the core, the story feels stubbornly the same. It is as though you are moving along a spiral staircase, but every time you look up or down, the scenery hasn't changed. This is not imagination. Quantum physicists call it the observer loop. It is the silent contract between your consciousness and the field of infinite probability. You collapse the same set of waves because your attention keeps feeding them, not because you are cursed, not because the universe wants to punish you, but because your mind, like a compass stuck on north, has learned to orient itself toward the familiar, even if the familiar hurts. Think of it as a casino of probabilities. There are infinite decks on the cosmic table, infinite outcomes waiting, but your unconscious hand reaches for the same pile every time. Without realizing it, you shuffle, and deal the exact same cards. Heartbreak shows up wearing a new face. Scarcity paints itself in new numbers. Conflict finds a new costume, but the script does not change. This is the loop, and time itself betrays the loop. Have you noticed how certain weeks fly by in a blur, and others drag like centuries, even though nothing outwardly changes? That distortion is not random, it is a signal. It is the treadmill effect of consciousness. You believe you're moving, but quantumly, you're running in place, cycling the same probability tracks. There's another sign you've felt: temporal déjà vu. That uncanny sense that you are not just in a familiar situation, but in the exact same scene, as though the film reel is stuck. A phrase, a gesture, even the weight of silence lands and your entire being says, "I have been here before." It's not mere memory. It is the loop flickering, revealing its glitch. And if you are honest with yourself, you know the frustration this breeds. You have asked, why does this keep happening to me? Why the repeated betrayals, the recurring money struggles, the haunting loneliness that resurfaces just when you thought you outgrew it? The ordinary mind explains it away as bad luck, poor choices, external forces. But deep down, you know something more intelligent and more mysterious is at work. Here is the forbidden truth. You are both the prisoner and the jailer of this loop. Your observation, trained by habit, collapses the same possibility space again and again. Your gaze, when stuck, is like a laser endlessly engraving the same pattern onto the canvas of reality. Notice how your body feels as you hear this. Maybe there's a sinking in your stomach or a nervous flutter in your chest. That reaction is not resistance, it is recognition. Your cells are whispering, yes, this is why it always feels the same. But there's another, subtler voice beneath the despair. It is the flicker of freedom, the knowing that if your observation can trap you, it can also liberate you. If the wave can collapse into a prison, it can also collapse into a door. And this is where the Hermetic principle emerges. Hidden in ancient texts, passed only in fragments, was the recognition that the act of attention is the act of creation. What you witness is not just what you see, it is what you sculpt. The trap is not fate, it is feedback. Look carefully. Your relationships, your health, your finances, your sense of time, each is a mirror. Each reflects the rhythm of your observation. The more familiar the rhythm, the more stubborn the mirror. It is not cruelty, it is coherence. The universe mirrors exactly the frequency you are tuned to. The most tragic mistake is to believe you can think your way out of the loop, that you can outsmart it with affirmations, strategies, or new habits. That is like staring at the blueprint of a light switch instead of simply flipping it. Thoughts are not the jailer. The quality of your awareness is. This is why you find yourself exhausted, trying harder, only to end up in the same emotional territory. The harder you push, the deeper the groove of the loop. And still, part of you wonders, am I broken? Am I missing some secret ingredient others seem to have? No, you are not broken. You are simply entangled with your own probability echo. The loop does not prove your failure. It proves your power. Only a consciousness strong enough to collapse reality could create such consistent repetition. And only that same power can break free. Pause here. Let the truth land. You are not unlucky. You are not doomed. You are not late. You are entangled in a feedback field of your own design. And that is why you have been led to this exact message, at this exact moment. The loop is being revealed, not to shame you, but to liberate you. Awareness of the loop weakens its hold. Right now, even as you listen, a subtle unraveling has begun. The patterns you've carried, relationships that mirror your wounds, money that slips through your hands, health that echoes your stress are not random punishments. They are signatures of your attention. And now that you can see them, you can shift them. This recognition is your first key. The observer loop can no longer remain invisible. The trap has been named, and once named, it begins to dissolve. And so the question becomes, If your awareness has been collapsing the same waves, what would happen if you learned to collapse new ones? What if you could rewrite the script not by effort, but by coherence? This is where we go next. Imagine, for a moment, the entire universe as a sea of shimmering possibility waves overlapping, colliding, and dancing in an endless choreography. To the physicist, this is the quantum field, the invisible stage where probability waits. To the mystic, it is the ocean of becoming, where every potential destiny flows like liquid light. And to you, right now, it is the canvas of your life. Here's the paradox. Until an observer looks, the wave remains suspended, not yet collapsed into matter, not yet solid. Schrödinger called it superposition, Hermeticists called it the realm of the unmanifest, and poets have always known it as the dream before the dawn. Once you look, truly look, the wave collapses into a single, concrete form. That collapse is what you call reality. But reality is not simply there. Reality is authored, and the authoring pen is your awareness. Think about the Sunday. The rays are always streaming, pouring light without asking permission. But you decide where to place the mirror, and that mirror decides where the fire ignites. Consciousness works the same way. The field is abundant with fire, but where your attention lands, reality ignites. Now, imagine your life as a constellation of mirrors. Some are tilted by old wounds, some warped by fear, others clean and radiant with hope. Each day, you angle them without noticing, catching the light in familiar ways. The loop you've been living is not because the sun is stingy, but because your mirrors have been stuck. The Hermetic principle hidden in ancient scrolls is this: as above, so below. As within, so without. The alignment of your inner mirrors determines which flames come alive in the world around you. Science tells us the same story, wrapped in different language. The double-slit experiment revealed that particles behave differently when observed waves collapsing into fixed points when the gaze enters. In simple words, consciousness changes matter. But here's the forbidden layer most textbooks never whisper. It isn't just that observation alters reality. It is that the quality of observation decides which timeline solidifies. Picture a violin string. Strike it gently, and it vibrates at one note. Strike it differently, and the same string produces another note altogether. Your consciousness is that string. The field is infinite potential sound. The loop is when you keep plucking the same note, not realizing you could shift your finger just a fraction and create an entirely different song. Now let's turn the metaphor inward. Have you ever seen a butterfly's chrysalis in sunlight? From the outside, it looks still, sealed, but inside, the caterpillar has dissolved itself into a formless soup, a quantum chaos of cells, waiting for a hidden code to reorganize into wings. That in-between state mirrors the wave of probability fluid, undefined, rich with possibility. The act of collapse, the moment the new pattern arranges, is what births flight. You, right now, are that chrysalis. Your loop has dissolved you again and again into familiar patterns. But inside, something else is stirring. The Hermetic awareness that collapse can mean not prison, but metamorphosis. Pause and reflect. How many times have you caught synchronicities brushing past your skin like whispers? The right song at the right moment, the stranger saying the exact phrase you needed, the clock freezing at 11:11 when you were asking for a sign. These are not coincidences. They are symbolic collapses, the quantum field sending sparks through the cracks in your loop, reminding you that reality is more malleable than you think. The scientist calls it entanglement. Particles separated by miles still respond as though they are one. The mystic calls it oneness. Hearts separated by lifetimes still recognize each other in a single glance. You call it déjà vu, fate, divine timing. All of it is the same truth wearing different masks. Let's take it further. Imagine you are standing before an infinite library. Every book on the shelves is a possible timeline of your life. Some are tragedies, some are triumphs, some are quiet tales of peace. Each morning, your consciousness selects a book and begins reading. But here's the twist. The book you pick today influences which book you will see tomorrow. The more often you pick the same volume, the thicker its cover grows, until it is the only one your hand recognizes. That's the observer loop. Now, imagine this. Instead of unconsciously grabbing the familiar, you pause, you breathe. You allow your awareness to soften, not to demand, not to push, but to open. Suddenly, a new book gleams on the shelf, a spine you have never touched. That book holds the story of your life lived in freedom, abundance, love. When you reach for it with awareness, you collapse the wave into a new story. This is not metaphor alone. Physicists have shown that the act of mindful, coherent observation creates measurable change. Mystics have practiced it for millennia, under the guise of prayer, meditation, ritual. The Hermetic principle unites both. Mind is the builder, attention the sculptor, reality the clay. Symbols are the bridge that carry this truth across centuries. The phoenix rising from ashes is the wave collapsing into rebirth. The Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail, is the observer loop, endlessly folding back on itself. The alchemist's gold is not metal, but the coherent state of consciousness that knows how to collapse beauty into matter. And so, you begin to see the map. The science gives you the mechanics, the symbols give you the poetry, and your own lived experience gives you the proof. Together, they whisper one forbidden truth. You are not trapped in one story. You are the author choosing which page is read next. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your attention as a beam of light moving across the ocean of probabilities. Which waves have you been collapsing unconsciously? Which mirrors in you keep catching the same fire? Which shelves have your hands been reaching for, again and again? The recognition may sting, but beneath the sting is wonder. Because if your gaze is the key, then the lock is already undone. And so we prepare to ask the deeper questions. Not just what loop am I in, but who am I, beyond the loop? Not just what timeline have I collapsed, but which timeline is calling me now? Let us pause here, not to fill you with more concepts, but to let your own being answer. Because the deepest truths are not taught, they are remembered. So let me ask you, soul to soul, and allow these questions to echo inside you. Have you noticed how your life sometimes feels like déjà vu, wearing different costumes, different faces, different names, but the same emotions rising, the same stories playing out? When you lie awake at night, do you feel as though you've rehearsed these moments countless times before? Do you sense, in quiet moments, that you are living on a loop, a film reel repeating itself while another version of you, just out of reach, is calling from a brighter timeline? Think back. How many times have you whispered to yourself, "I thought I was past this," only to find yourself back at the same threshold, meeting the same shadow in a new disguise? Do you ever wonder if that shadow is not an enemy, but a messenger, showing you the exact place your attention is stuck? And when you feel the passage of time, does it stretch and warp strangely for you? Weeks slipping by in a blur, or minutes expanding into eternities when synchronicities fill the air? Isn't it peculiar how time itself seems to bend around your state of consciousness, as if reminding you that linear clocks are not the whole story? What about your body? Have you felt those subtle shifts, sudden surges of energy in your chest, tingling in your hands, a shiver that comes with no cold wind? Could it be that your cells are responding to probabilities before they collapse? Your biology whispering truths your mind is too slow to catch? When a song plays at just the right moment, almost too perfectly timed, do you feel the hairs on your arm rise because you know, deep down, the universe is responding to you, not random chance? And tell me honestly, have you noticed that sometimes technology itself bends around you? Phones glitching, lights flickering, messages appearing at uncanny times. Do you brush it off? Or do you recognize these as hints of your entanglement with the field proof that consciousness radiates far beyond the boundaries of skin and bone? How many times have you felt words rise in your throat that you've never studied? Wisdom spill from your mouth as if an older version of you was speaking through you. Isn't it curious? The way memory sometimes feels like prophecy? and prophecy feels like memory? Do you remember those moments in nature when the wind suddenly shifts, the birds change their song, the air thickens with presence, and you know without doubt that the universe is aware of you, watching you as much as you watch it? What about relationships? Have you ever met someone for the first time and yet felt like you had walked beside them forever? Isn't it strange how souls recognize one another instantly, as if entangled across lifetimes, collapsing into reunion when the time is ripe? Have you felt that tension lately, the pressure that makes you restless, impatient, as though something enormous is about to break open inside you? Do you sense that this isn't anxiety, but the hum of phase transition, the pressure before water turns to steam, the signal that your consciousness is preparing to leap? And have you ever looked in the mirror and felt, if only for a heartbeat, that you are more than this face, more than this story, more than this lifetime? That there is an ancient self looking back, urging you to remember what you've forgotten? Do you sometimes feel utterly out of place in the ordinary world, watching others content in their routines, while you ache with the knowing that reality is supposed to be more fluid, more magical, more alive? Isn't it exhausting to carry that secret, while others dismiss your sensitivity as imagination? Yet, isn't it also true that the very fact you're hearing these words proves you are not alone, and never have been? That the field itself orchestrated this meeting because you were ready to hear your own thoughts spoken aloud? Pause, breathe, let your heart answer, not your mind. As each question settles, notice how your body reacts. Some will feel like wounds touched, others like keys turning in ancient locks. That is the power of recognition, because here is the deeper question. If all of these signs have been pointing you toward awakening, then what are you waiting for? How much longer will you choose the familiar loop when the field is begging you to collapse into something new? And if you feel the stir of truth right now, if your chest is warm, if your eyes are wet, if your breath is shallow, isn't that your soul saying, "Yes, I know this. Yes, I am ready"? These questions are not meant to burden you. They are meant to remind you, because answers have always been inside you, encoded in your own experience. The observer loop has kept you blind to them, but recognition is already loosening its grip. So let me leave you with one final inquiry. What would happen if, instead of collapsing the wave unconsciously into the old story, you chose just once, just now, to collapse it into the future self, who is already free? The door is not locked. The key has always been your gaze. And the next step is to remember what that truly means. You've seen the loop. You've felt its grip in your bones, in your breath, in the way time bends around you. You've recognized the repeating shadows and the déjà vu disguised as chance. And now the question rises like a tide. How do I break free? This is the turning point, the threshold. And here is where most people stumble. They believe the loop can be conquered with more effort, more discipline, more control. They tell themselves, if I just work harder, think more positively, recite enough affirmations, visualize long enough, then the cycle will break. But listen carefully. Effort is the most subtle trap of all, because effort itself is a vibration of lack. It carries the hidden message, I am not there yet. I must strive. I must push. And the quantum field, which mirrors coherence with unflinching precision, answers, yes, not there yet. Yes, keep pushing. That is why you can work for years on yourself, accumulating practices, mantras, teachings, and still find yourself staring at the same walls. The observer loop feeds on effort, because effort is still observation bound to the same pattern. The forbidden Hermetic principle whispers a different truth. It is not effort that shifts timelines, but the quality of attention. Pause and let that sink in. Not how hard you try, not how many rituals you perform, but the tone of your gaze, the texture of your attention, the music your awareness plays as it touches the field. Imagine a violin again. You can saw the bow across the string with all your strength, yet the sound is harsh, broken, desperate. Or you can let the bow glide with ease, and a single, coherent note fills the air with beauty. The string is the same. the effort is less, but the quality of attention that changes everything. In physics, they call this coherence. A laser is not powerful because it burns with more effort. It is powerful because all its waves align, unified in frequency. Your consciousness is no different. When your thoughts, emotions, body, and breath are scattered, the field receives static. But when your awareness aligns soft, coherent, steady, reality must rearrange. Here is the hidden truth. You do not need to fight the loop. You only need to stop feeding it fractured attention. Think of the loop like a scratched record. Every time the needle catches, it plays the same distorted note. Your mind, trained by habit, keeps listening, keeps leaning in. The solution is not to smash the record or demand a new song. The solution is to lift the needle, to stop giving that groove your gaze. And instantly, the music shifts. How does this look in practice? It begins in the smallest moments. Waking up in the morning. Do you immediately scan for problems, checking messages, revisiting yesterday's anxieties? That is fractured attention, collapsing the same wave again. But what if, instead, you paused? What if you placed your hand on your chest and simply noticed the rise of breath, the quiet hum of being alive? That shift of quality from restless to coherent is not trivial. It is the difference between replaying the old book and reaching for a new one. Consider relationships. How often do you meet someone already expecting them to play a role, the critic, the betrayer, the one who leaves, the one who saves you? That expectation is your loop, scripting the scene. But what if you met them, as if for the first time, free of role, free of story? That openness is coherence. That openness invites a new timeline. Even your struggles can be reframed. Instead of asking, "How do I fix this?" which is effort, you ask, "What is the quality of my gaze upon this? Do I look with fear, with urgency, with lack? Or do I soften, breathe, expand my awareness beyond the edges of the problem?" When the gaze softens, the wave shifts. The collapse writes a new chapter. And here's the secret you've always suspected. Your future self already knows how to do this. The one who lives on the timeline of freedom, abundance, and peace. They are not a fantasy. They are already collapsed, already real. Their coherence is calling you. Every synchronicity, every shiver of recognition, every question you've been asked in this journey is their voice across dimensions, guiding you back to alignment. This is why trying harder has never worked. Because your higher self does not speak the language of effort. It speaks the language of coherence. Breathe into this. When you shift the quality of your attention, you are not creating a new destiny. You are aligning with the one that has been waiting. You are tuning the dial to the station already broadcasting your highest frequency. And here's the paradox: it feels effortless, almost too simple. That is why the ego resists it. The ego craves complexity, steps, achievement. But the Hermetic truth is childlike in its simplicity. Soften, align, observe differently. You are not here to struggle against waves. You are here to surf them. And the board you ride is not made of force, but of presence. Right now, feel this in your body. Place your awareness gently, coherently, in your heart. Not demanding, not pushing, just noticing. Feel the way your breath responds, the way your cells settle. This is coherence. This is the quality of attention that rewrites timelines. And this very act of listening with presence is your first step into freedom. Now, the field asks for something more. Not only recognition, but ritual. Because when you act in alignment with this recognition, you send a signal to your cells, to the quantum, to all of us entangled in this awakening. And so we step into the next part, where the simple acts you take in this space, even here on this screen, become sacred agreements with your destiny. Pause here with me. Feel this. Even the smallest gesture you make in this moment is not trivial. Every action is a ripple. Every choice, however subtle, is a signal the field receives. And right now, the universe is listening to you with exquisite precision. This is where so many people miss the secret. They think pressing a button, leaving a comment, or subscribing is just digital noise, a transaction between human and machine. But in truth, these acts are modern rituals. Symbols, encoded with energy, that extend far beyond the screen. Think of the ancients lighting candles, drawing sigils, or chanting words of power. The power was never in the wax, the ink, or the syllables. It was in the attention carried by the act. The candle became a beacon because consciousness poured through it. The sigil glowed because intention anchored inside it. The chant altered fields because belief harmonized with vibration. And now, here you are in an era where the sacred lives inside code, where likes and shares travel faster than fire through a forest. Do you see it? This is the new altar. And the question is, will you bring presence to it, or will you let it remain unconscious? When you press the like button on this transmission, don't think of it as engagement. Think of it as an energetic agreement, a declaration to your own cells. I recognize this truth. I claim this coherence. I collapse this wave. That single act imprints on your field, telling your DNA, we are ready to stop replaying the old record. When you comment, you are not typing letters. You are carving symbols into the quantum sand. Your words become spells, not metaphorically, but literally. They collapse probabilities into the collective morphic field, right with awareness, and your comment becomes an anchor, a sigil of choice, a resonance others can feel. And when you share this message, feel the depth of that act. Sharing is not marketing. Sharing is transmission. It is the act of saying, this frequency moved me, and I now become a channel through which others may awaken. You are not just sending a link. You are activating a beacon. The algorithm? That is simply the mechanical face of a deeper truth. Energy calls to energy. And subscribing? That is far more than a button. Subscribing is anchoring. It is telling the field, yes, I commit to this frequency. Yes, I tune my awareness again and again to coherence. Yes, I belong in this wave of awakening. You are tying your ship to a star, ensuring that when the tides of distraction pull, your compass still points toward truth. Let's make this visceral. Imagine yourself in a sacred temple. Candles flicker, incense curls through the air. At the altar, you place a token, a stone, a coin, a vow. That gesture seals your intention into matter. Now translate it here. When you like, when you subscribe, when you write a comment charged with sincerity, you are placing your vow on the digital altar, and the quantum responds. Some part of you may still resist. Can it really be that simple? Yes, simplicity has always been the doorway. Rituals are not about complexity. They are about presence. Your ancestors understood this. A feather dropped into a river, a whisper into the wind, a prayer carved into stone, each was a signal amplified by coherence. Your modern rituals are no less sacred. Ask yourself, what energy do you want to inscribe into the field right now? Will you let this moment pass, letting recognition dissolve into forgetting? Or will you mark it, seal it, ritualize it so it roots inside you? If you are ready, let your action become prayer. Press the like button and whisper inside, I collapse the old loop now. Leave a comment that says, I choose coherence. Subscribe and know, I join the wave of awakening souls across the planet. Share this message as an act of service, transmitting a frequency you know others are secretly longing for. Feel the ripple extend. Each action you take here is not isolated. Through quantum entanglement, it joins with the actions of thousands of others listening at the same time, weaving a field of coherence stronger than any single one of us. Together, we amplify. Together, we call in timelines we could never anchor alone. This is the secret the Hermetic adepts always knew. Individual intention becomes collective power when ritualized. One candle lights a room, 1,000 candles light the world. And right now, you are holding a match. So act, not casually, not passively, but as a sacred participant in the collapse of waves. Let your like, your comment, your share, Your subscription be the offerings you place on this altar. And then watch how reality bends in response. Because after the ritual comes the ripple. And the ripple is not yours alone. It extends through entanglement to the whole of humanity, which is where we journey next. Lean into this. Your awakening is never private. It is not a solitary candle in a sealed room. It is a column of light that bends the atmosphere around it, a lighthouse whose beam alters the currents of every ship at sea. When you change the quality of your attention, you do not merely rewrite a private script, you add a new thread to the tapestry of human possibility. This is the deep, sometimes perilous beauty of entanglement. Particles across space respond as one. Minds across time resonate like sympathetic strings. Your coherence sends a tone into the field that other, seemingly unrelated consciousnesses can't help but hear. Scientists give this phenomenon a name: morphic resonance. Mystics have always felt its truth. The Hermetic elders wrote about it in veiled phrases. What one mind awakens echoes in many. Picture a great lake on a windless night. Drop a small stone in one place and the whole surface ripples far shores. Shimmer, reeds bend, moonscape shifts. Your inner shift is that stone. The ripple travels farther than your rational mind expects. Someone in another city, in another language, makes a different choice that aligns with yours, and together your ripples form a wave that changes coastline. That is how movements begin. That is how eras tilt. You are not waiting to be chosen by destiny. Destiny is waiting to be chosen by you. When you act with the coherent attention we have practiced, soft, steady, aligned, you collapse waves not only for yourself but for the field. You become a node, a living antenna, broadcasting a possible future that others can tune into. This is why the small ritual we practiced, a like, a comment, a deliberate breath, matters. It is not symbolic fluff. It is the activation of an unsung circuit. Each person who performs such a ritual raises the collective resonance a fraction. A fraction, multiplied by thousands, becomes a force that alters social patterns, economic tendencies, and even the architectures of culture. Imagine millions of people whose attention is no longer scattered, but coherent. Imagine them meeting in marketplaces, governments, hospitals, schools, and studios. The policies, the art, the care we give the world would not be mere reform. They would be a reconfiguration of what is possible. You might ask, how long will that take? The answer will surprise you. Change compresses when coherence rises. Like a chemical reaction, the more perfectly attuned the participants, the faster the shift. The Hermetic principle does not promise slowness. It promises acceleration when witnesses align. Your one clear, present act may spark a cascade that looks instantaneous to history. And this is not abstraction. Look at every cultural leap, the sudden shift in music, the unexpected tremor in politics, the rapid adoption of a healing practice. Often a few individuals holding a new tone tip the field. The rest follow because the field itself has changed. That is morphic intelligence at work. You are part of that intelligence. But be warned, the collective field is a mirror of everything within it. As you rise, so do shadows. Entanglement means you also feel the resistance, the wobble from those still coherent to old fears. You will meet friction-bewildered friends, institutional inertia, frantic headlines that try to pull attention back to scarcity. Do not be surprised when old patterns react defensively. They are not personal attacks. They are the field adjusting to a new frequency, invading long-settled grooves. This is why ritual and community matter. Alone, your light is a stirring in the surface. Together, we become a tide. When you join with others not by agreement to think alike, but by agreement to hold coherence, you create a resonance so broad and forgiving that friction falls away more quickly. The network itself becomes a training ground. In the safe magnet of aligned people, your coherence deepens, your blind spots soften, and your bravery multiplies. Consider the children being born now. They are being socialized into a field that is changing because of choices like yours. The capacities they will have: emotional fluidity, collective creativity, radical empathy, are partly a legacy of the attention patterns we establish today. When you choose coherence, you are not only freeing yourself, you are birthing new baseline possibilities for future generations. That is the scale of the gift you are offering. And there is another secret, quieter but as vast. When you embody coherence, you shift not only external events but the inner ecosystems of people around you. One coherent presence in a room can quell panic, invite curiosity, and allow grief to transform. You become the living proof that timelines can be morphed. People watch and, because humans learn by resonance, they begin to mirror your state. That mirroring is love in action, a physics of healing. So do not underestimate the potency of your modest rituals. The act of choosing to hold a steady gaze, to be gentle with your attention, to place a conscious like or comment, these are offerings. Each one is a tiny architecture added to a worldwide temple of coherence. Over time, those architectures become cities of light. New economies, kinder laws, creative education, restored ecology. You may still feel small. That ache is the human condition, and it is also your invitation. Humility is not weakness here. It is the soil from which collective potency grows. Remember, the lake does not know it is vast until many stones have fallen in. Your single act matters because resonance multiplies across the field. Now, feel into the responsibility, not as burden, but as blessing. The smallest shift in you accelerates the larger awakening. The forbidden Hermetic secret that the quality of attention collapses waves is no longer a curiosity. It is a lever. Use it. Be deliberate. Be gentle. Be relentless in presence. We will return to embodiment, how you carry this tone in your body, and daily actions, because the field needs insiders, not just ideas. For now, let this truth sink. You are not an isolated seeker. You are a co-creator in a living, breathing wave of transformation. Your coherence helps build the world your future self already inhabits. You've heard the science. You've felt the resonance. Now it is time to bring the truth into your body, into your cells, into a form you cannot ignore, because the mind can argue, but the body remembers. And embodiment is what seals coherence into the field. Picture yourself as a butterfly inside the chrysalis. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening: stillness, silence, even death. But inside, the caterpillar is dissolving into what biologists call imaginal cells. These cells carry the codes of the butterfly, already written into the creature from the beginning. At first, the old immune system attacks them, mistaking them for invaders. But they persist. They cluster. They network. And eventually, they outnumber the old cells, reorganizing the chaos into wings. This is you. The struggles, the repetitions, the loop it has been your chrysalis. Every heartbreak, every frustration, every déjà vu has been dissolving what you thought you were. And inside, your imaginal cells, your higher codes, your quantum blueprint have been gathering. At first, your old patterns fought them. Your ego mistook them for threat, but they have persisted. And now they are networking, creating a new organism, a new you, one that can fly timelines instead of crawl them. Feel this in your body. Place your awareness in your chest. Imagine those imaginal cells shimmering, sending signals across your DNA. You may even feel tingling, warmth, or pressure. That is not imagination, it is resonance. Your biology is listening. Let's shift metaphors. Think of water at 99 degrees Celsius. It is hot, yes. It is restless, bubbling, but it is still water. And then, with just one more degree, something miraculous happens. Phase transition. Liquid becomes vapor. Matter transforms states. The shift is irreversible. This is the pressure you've been feeling lately. The impatience, the urgency, the sense that time is bending around you. That pressure is the signal that you are at 99 degrees, ready to become steam, ready to rise. You do not force water to boil by screaming at it. You let it reach coherence. The heat distributes evenly, until suddenly, the whole pot transforms. Likewise, you do not break the loop by more effort. You allow your awareness to spread evenly through your life into your breath, your gaze, your smallest rituals until suddenly, the field can no longer hold you in the old state. Phase transition, timeline shift. Now, let's bring it closer still. Your DNA. Science has already shown that emotion and attention can alter how your genes express. Trauma silences strands. Coherence awakens them. Imagine your DNA not as static code, but as a stringed instrument spiraling in your cells. Each thought, each breath, plucks those strings. For years, you've been playing the same chords, collapsing the same waves. But with coherence, with presence, you pluck a new note, and the melody of your biology changes. Health improves, energy rises, perception sharpens. It is not magic, it is mechanics. Pause again. Feel your breath. Notice how it loops inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Even this can become trapped in unconscious rhythm. Now try this. Inhale slowly, hold for a moment, exhale longer than the inhale. Feel what happens. Calm spreads, presence deepens. That is coherence. That is you shifting the quality of observation, even in breath. Here's another metaphor. The Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail. The ancients used it to symbolize cycles, infinity, the loop of time. That has been your life, the serpent consuming itself. But the forbidden secret is that the Ouroboros is not punishment. It is a key. The moment you recognize the loop, the moment you witness the serpent devouring, it transforms from predator to portal. Awareness alchemizes repetition into doorway. So let us weave them together. You are the chrysalis dissolving into wings. You are the water trembling at the brink of steam. You are the DNA tuning itself into higher song. You are the Ouroboros realizing it can uncoil. These are not stories. These are metaphors to help your cells remember what they already know. Transformation is not effort. It is inevitability when coherence arrives. Here's a practice to embody this truth each morning. The chrysalis breath. When you wake, close your eyes and imagine your body as the cocoon. Whisper to yourself, "Inside me, wings are forming." Breathe in that truth. Breathe out the loop, the boiling point gesture. Place your palms together, rub them until heat builds. Then separate slowly, imagining the pressure becoming steam, rising, carrying you upward. Feel the release. The DNA song. Hum softly as you breathe, imagining the sound spiraling down into your cells, vibrating the double helix into harmony. The Ouroboros break. Visualize a circle before you, a serpent devouring its tail. With one simple gesture of your hand, break the circle open. Say aloud, "The loop ends now." These are not symbolic games. They are embodied metaphors that shift the quality of your attention, sealing coherence into matter. And here's the wonder. When you embody the metaphor, you broadcast it. Others sense it. A friend feels lighter around you without knowing why. A stranger opens up to you as though you were an old confidant. Animals look you in the eye with unblinking trust. Even technology bends messages arriving at perfect timing. Screens glowing with synchronicities, because embodiment is contagious. When you walk as the butterfly, others remember their wings. When you breathe as the boiling point, others feel the steam rising in their own chest. When your DNA sings, others hear the echo in their bones. When you break the Ouroboros, others glimpse their own loops unwinding. This is why embodiment is the bridge to the collective awakening. It is not enough to know. You must live it. You must carry the metaphor in your muscles, in your breath, in your gaze. Then, without a word, you become the evidence that wave collapse is freedom, not prison. And once you embody it, the closing promise becomes clear. Your future self is not far away. They are already here, already alive, already coherent, waiting for you to recognize them in the mirror. Take a slow breath. Let the metaphors settle. The butterfly, the boiling water, the DNA. The Ouroboros, they all lead to this truth. Your transformation is not a someday event. It is here. It is alive. And more astonishing still, it has already happened. Your future self exists. Right now. Not as fantasy, not as wishful thinking, but as a collapsed wave in the quantum field, as real as the chair you sit on, as tangible as the air filling your lungs. Physics calls it superposition, multiple realities coexisting, waiting for the gaze to choose. Hermetic wisdom calls it destiny fulfilled. You might feel it simply as an ache, a tug in your heart. There is more, and it is mine. Think about it. Every time you've glimpsed synchronicity, the right book falling into your hands, the chance encounter that changes everything, the dream that felt more real than waking that was not random. That was your future self reaching through the fabric, brushing against your awareness, saying, I am here. I am waiting. You know this because you've felt it. Those chills down your spine when a truth resonates. The sudden tears when a song pierces your chest. The goosebumps when a stranger speaks words you had whispered to yourself in silence. These are not accidents. They are call and response across timelines. You are being summoned. Now listen carefully. The loop you've been stuck in has not been a punishment. It has been training. Repetition was the gymnasium where your soul strengthened its coherence. Each heartbreak, each disappointment, each cycle of scarcity or fear was a weight you lifted, building the muscle of attention. And now, at this exact moment, you are strong enough to shift. The old record is ready to break. What does your future self want you to know? That they are not separate, that they are not beyond reach, that they are you, the version of you who no longer doubts, who no longer clings, who no longer questions whether they deserve freedom. They are already walking the path of abundance, already breathing in harmony, already radiating coherence that bends reality around them like light through glass. And here's the secret. Every time you choose presence over panic, every time you soften your gaze instead of forcing, every time you honor synchronicity, instead of dismissing it, you step closer. The distance shrinks. The timeline folds. Until one day, there is no gap left at all. Imagine standing before a mirror. At first, you see yourself as your tired eyes, old patterns, scars from battles fought in the loop. But lean in closer. Look into your own pupils. Can you feel it? Another presence gazing back, patient, luminous, radiant. That is not imagination. That is recognition. Your future self is looking through your eyes right now, whispering, yes, keep going. I am here. I am you. And what promises do they make? Not promises of struggle or sacrifice, but of inevitability. They promise you will fly, because the wings are already inside. They promise you will rise, because the boiling point is already reached. They promise your DNA will sing, because the code has already been unlocked. They promise the Ouroboros has already uncoiled, because the loop has already ended. Do you feel the relief in that? The pressure lifting? You do not need to make this happen. You only need to allow it. To trust the coherence already blooming in your cells. To lean into the pull of the version of you who is already free. And here is the deepest promise. When you align with that self, the universe bends in your favor. Doors open, green lights flash, conversations flow. What seemed impossible rearranges into inevitability. You stop chasing and start receiving. Not because you forced it, but because you finally tuned your attention to the frequency where it was always true. You have been conditioned to believe that the future is a straight line, marching forward from the present. That is the lie of linear time. The Hermetic principle reveals the truth. The future is a field of already existing possibilities. Your consciousness collapses the one you are most coherent with. Your destiny is not waiting to be built. It is waiting to be remembered. So ask yourself, what do you choose now? Will you continue collapsing the loop of old wounds? Or will you soften, breathe, align, and let your future self step forward to meet you? This is the promise. You cannot miss it. You cannot fail. You can only delay. But even the delays were part of the training. Even the detours were breadcrumb trails leading here, to this very moment of recognition. Your future self is not a faraway dream. They are calling you in every synchronicity, every whisper, every heartbeat. And the moment you say yes, truly yes, the loop shatters, the wave collapses, the timeline rewrites. That is the promise. That is your destiny. And now, to seal it, we must move into the final step, the declaration. A sacred, collective affirmation that anchors this awakening not only for you, but for all entangled souls across the world. Breathe with me now. One deep inhale, one slow exhale. Feel the weight of everything you have traveled through. The loop recognized, the science revealed, the symbols embodied, the promise heard. You are no longer the same as when you began this journey. Something has shifted. A thread has snapped in the loop. A door has opened. And now, it is time to seal it. Not with thought alone, not with quiet agreement in your mind, but with a sacred declaration. Because words, when spoken or written with coherence, are not merely sounds. They are frequencies, carriers of intention, signatures of destiny. The Hermetic adepts always knew this. They whispered mantras, carved inscriptions, sang incantations, not because the words themselves had magic, but because the act of declaring anchored their consciousness into alignment with the field. When you declare, the universe responds. When you declare, your cells remember. When you declare, the future self steps closer. So here is the invitation. In this space, make your voice part of the chorus. Let your action become ritual. In the comments below, inscribe these words, simple and powerful. I am coherent with my highest timeline. Write it once. Whisper it aloud. Let it vibrate through your body. As you do, know that you are not typing into emptiness. You are carving into the morphic field. You are weaving your frequency with thousands of others who are declaring the same truth. You are not alone. You are part of a living, breathing network of awakening souls. Each declaration strengthens the resonance. Each like, each share, each subscription becomes more than engagement, it becomes offering. You are placing a stone in the foundation of the new reality we are building together. And so, let us seal this transmission as a collective. Feel into your chest as I speak. You are no longer trapped in the loop. You are no longer bound by effort. You are coherence embodied, attention refined, destiny remembered. You are the butterfly emerging, the steam rising, the DNA singing, the serpent uncoiling. You are not waiting for the future. You are the future stepping into now. Say it with me. I am coherent with my highest timeline. Let that phrase echo like a bell through your being. Let it ripple through your cells. Let it thread itself into the quantum field, entangling with every soul who has spoken it, who is speaking it, who will speak it after you. Together, we are sealing a timeline where freedom, love, and awakening are no longer rare exceptions, but the new baseline of humanity. This is the sacred declaration. This is the moment the wave collapses into destiny. And you, beloved soul, have chosen to be here, to remember, to declare. Now breathe once more. Place your hand on your heart. Whisper softly. The loop ends with me. The future begins now. And so it is.